time, I'd like to call this Committee on Health and Emergency Services to order. This time, I'd ask you to stand for the invocation and pledge of allegiance. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity to gather together to discuss emergency medical services, 911, first responders, and citizens of Lawrence County. Be with us, be with those who present tonight through the deliberations and discussion. Use us for your service. In your name we pray. Amen. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May be seated. At this time, I'd like to recognize members of the committee, Mr. Stuart Jones, Mr. Keith Collison, who is unable to attend, and I serve on this committee, and also like to welcome our Chairman of County Council, Mr. Joe Wood, and our Administrator, Mr. Ernie Seegers. This time, I'd like to recognize Mr. Seegers for an overview of the committee's assignment and task.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What we have tonight is a pretty extensive overview of EMS dealing with staffing, vehicles, decollection, stations, call, origin, that sort of thing. Mr. Chad Burrell, our EMS Director, and Joe Yeager, who's our Emergency Communications Director, put together a slide presentation over here on the whiteboard. It's pretty, I sat through it yesterday, and it's about a half hour long. So what we felt like with all the discussion about EMS in the last 2 years, really, we felt like the committee and those participating here, we need to, as much information as we provide. I think at the end of this, I think Councilman Jones has a presentation too, and I think he will certainly be, I think he will use the same situation on
yes,
here, and that'll be at the end of this, what the county staff will provide. I don't think we'll come to any conclusions tonight. There's a bit of information available, and EMS is a large service with the county, probably the second or third most, I won't say expensive, but certainly it's multi-million-dollar a year. So that's where we are. I think that there's a good bit of information here, and we're going to try to get through it as quickly as we can to allow committee discussion, that sort of thing. Mr. Burrell is prepared, I think, to start, and if there are questions along the way, I think the committee can feel free to interrupt, ask questions if they need to. And that's where we are.
And before we begin, I would like to, I already mentioned we're a committee of 2 tonight. First of all, I want to thank the first responders, all first responders, for the job that you do on a daily basis for the people of Lawrence County. Secondly, I'd like to thank the staff and administration for preparing this presentation for this information gathering session only. My goal is that we will wrap this discussion up in 1 hour or less. I know we're going to be pushed to do so, but that's my goal. And at this time, I would like to recognize the Director of Lawrence County Emergency Medical Service, Chad Burrell, for his presentation.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. As Mr. Seegers said, this presentation is detailed. There's a lot of information, so I will probably speak quickly. If at any point you need to slow down, just please advise me so. And then, like Mr. Seegers had advised, if you have any questions, just stop me, okay? All right, getting started. In the presentation, there's a lot of acronyms. In the prior budget sessions, we've used a lot of acronyms, so I wanted to cover those very quickly. QRV, ALS, and BLS we use often in emergency medical services. BLS stands for Basic Life Support. Basic Life Support is provided by EMT Basics of our department. Typically, in order to become an EMT Basic, you have 9 months roughly of school. Some of the skill sets that Basics can do for our service are things like oxygen administration, bleeding control, airway suction, other comfort measures, and patient-assisted medications. ALS stands for Advanced Life Support, and it's provided by our paramedics of our system. In order to be a paramedic, it takes about 2 years of school, and that's just the baseline of education. It typically requires another 5 years of on-the-street practice in order to be efficient in pre-hospital emergency medicine. Paramedics can provide the same skills as EMT Basics, however they do additional things like establish IVs. This is where you take a needle and you actually stick it into a person's vein in order to supply fluids or medications as needed. They can do things like intubation. Intubation is a procedure we use where we directly look at the patient's lungs and slide a sterile tube down into the lungs. This gives a patient a secure airway in the event that the patient needs it. It's a very detailed skill. It's something that takes a lot of training, a lot of expertise, and persistence in trying to become comfortable in doing that skill. We do things like EKG diagnostics, where we actually are able to diagnose heart attacks. The heart puts off electrical rhythms, and we're trained to discern the patterns and the wave patterns of the electrical output, where we can actually diagnose a heart attack and also tell exactly where that blood clot is in that heart. Once we diagnose that, obviously we call we call them code STEMIs. STEMI stands for ST segment elevation MI, and that's part of that electrical path that we diagnose using the cardiac monitor. Of course, if we call a code STEMI, it gets prompter care, quicker care when we take them to the hospital. When they get there, typically they'll go straight to the cath lab based upon our diagnoses. And of course, we do medication administration and other respiratory diagnostics as well. QRV stands for Quick Response Vehicle. We have 4 of those strategically located throughout Lawrence County. They are staffed with 1 paramedic. They provide ALS first response as well as additional assistance as needed to ambulances. We have a real critical patient where our normal 2-man crew needs additional assistance. We co-respond with the QRV, and we can actually put a 3rd set of hands in the truck to help treat that critical patient. They are a non-transporting unit. The QRV locations currently are located in Lawrence, and that is the EMS supervisor QRV. And he is in charge of total command of any one given shift. The other 3 locations are in Joanna, Western Lawrence, and the Young's community. A brief history: Lawrence County was established in 1976 with 1 ambulance, and I put our patches up there that we progressed since 1976 up until current, which currently we have 5 ambulances and 4 QRVs that we provide for service. We added our 5th ambulance in 2008. The 5th ambulance is considered a power unit, and it's on shift between 9:30 and 11:30 p.m. That is the time that we have discerned to be our busiest time. That's when we receive our most requests for service. And in 2008, this was put in place in order to help overcome that dramatic increase in demand. The unfortunate side of it, when it was approved for budget, we had to shut down the QRV from the Young's community between 9:30 and 11:30 in order to man the second half of that Medic 5 truck. Real quick, worthy of mentioning, Lawrence County EMS sometime back developed the CPAP pilot project. CPAP stands for Continuous Positive Airway Pressure. Most of you may be familiar with that if you have anyone with sleep apnea. They sleep with a machine that provides constant airway pressures to the patient's lungs. We got involved with South Carolina DHEC and actually performed the first ever pilot using CPAP in a pre-hospital setting for certain respiratory emergencies. Because of the efforts of Lawrence County EMS, CPAP is now a national standard that's considered the standard pre-hospital medicine. Fentanyl, it's a pain medicine. It has 10 times the potency of morphine. Lawrence County EMS is responsible for working and getting fentanyl approved to the South Carolina drug formulary and used for all pre-hospital providers. We have a partnership with Piedmont Technical College. We currently provide EMT basic training at our training center down on South Harper Street where the communications building is. We've partnered with them where we provide 2 EMT classes a year, and because of the partnership, basically they use our equipment, they provide the educators, and we get 1 tuition assistance or 1 scholarship that we can put, example 1, fireman through for EMT training because of the partnership. We've been recognized for excellence in cardiac and stroke care from all of our area cardiac stroke centers, which include GHS, Spartanburg, and Self. And of course, as everyone knows, we were the 2014 Large EMS System of the Year for South Carolina. Also a recent recipient for the AFG Fiscal Year 14 grant. A new ambulance was funded federally. And then recently we were selected for the Hantavi Pediatric System grant through DHEC. The Division of Pediatrics and DHEC issued us 5 pediatric bags. And these bags are specially equipped, and they're equipped based upon age and sizes of patients. It just helps us better serve our pediatric population. Here's a picture of some of our current staff. Give you a shift overview real quick. We do operate with 3 shifts. Each shift requires 3 positions on each shift. This is a breakdown basically of each shift and the command structure and how it's set up. We have 1 shift captain over each shift. They're located in Lawrence. Their primary responsible is overall coordination of that day's activities. We have 2 shift lieutenants. One is located in Joanna and one is located in Western Lawrence, and they serve on the QRVs. The first lieutenant is responsible for scheduling Entire scheduling practices of the department. Second lieutenant is responsible for quality assurance measures. Then we have a paramedic that serves on the QRV in Young's. And again, remembering how we had to shut down half of that in order to operate Medic 5, they're only there at Young's Community between 11:30 p.m. and 07:30 a.m. And then the additional fleet, we have 5 ambulances that operates with 1 paramedic and 1 EMT. And that consists of 1 actual shift, and of course we have 3 shifts in order to operate 24/48.
Chad, M1, M2, M1 Lawrence, M2 Cleveland, M3, Graycourt.
Yes, sir, I'm sorry. Medic 1 is Lawrence, Medic 5 cohabitates with Lawrence out of the same station. Medic 2 is Clinton, Medic 3 is Graycourt, Medic 4 is Cross Hill. Overall departmental staffing, we have 42 full-time staff, 4 administrative positions. We have 9 command officer positions. That accounts for 3 captains and 6 lieutenants. We have 6 paramedic FTO positions. We currently, these numbers here denote current openings. We have 0 administrative positions. We have 1 command officer position, 0 FTO positions. FTO is a paramedic required position, but it's considered a field training officer, and they help with remediation and onboarding new employees. 9 field level paramedic positions. Currently, we're sitting on 2 openings. And just recently, we promoted 3 of our EMTs up into that paramedic role position. And that's based upon an educational benefit that we provide as part of a recruitment and retention tool where we assist EMTs who want to further their education. We assist them a little bit with tuition assistance as well as time off to attend school. Because we do that, we put them under contract. They have to provide service back to us in order to pay back that investment we have in them for their education. If we did not have that intact, we would probably sit currently on 5 paramedic openings. 14 EMT positions, all of them are filled. We have 25 part-time staff. It's a mix of EMTs and paramedics, and we currently have 7 openings of our part-time staff. Lawrence County EMS operates 24 hours, 7 days a week. Again, as mentioned before, 24-48-hour shifts. Our full-time employees work 24. They're all 48. They come back and work again 24 hours. Basically, they're working every 3rd day in a 24-hour capacity. This adds up to 2,080 regular hours at regular time and 848 hours at overtime rate, which is time and a half. And that's how we basically get our annual estimated salaries. We combine the 2080 and the 848, and that equates to their estimated annual salary that they're paid. Staff may pick up additional overtime based upon departmental needs, but we do have scheduling policies in place to minimize additional overtime. And we try to do that as much as possible, not only for budgetary concerns, but also strongly for safety concerns. Recruitment and retention. Our turnover rate for calendar year 2014 was 43%. The main reason given when people leave is for higher compensation from other EMS agencies, as well as less call volume per unit. Typically an agency runs less call volume per unit and they're getting paid more. It's less work and making more money. A response overview in 2014, Lawrence County EMS responded to 13,161 requests for service, and that is a total response of QRVs and ambulances. Just ambulance responses alone are responded to 10,530. We had 9,355 total patient contacts, and of those contacts, we transported 7,414 patients.
Let me ask you a question, Mr. Burrell. Is
Yes.
that all from Lawrence County EMS, or is that from any third-party provider as well?
No, sir. These numbers are all Lawrence County EMS. You could add several hundred more requests for service because of the utilizations of privates through the provider network.
Thank you.
Average response times. These are our average response times, and this is cumulative of all the ambulances in the service. Call received to dispatch. When someone actually has an emergency and they call 911, up until the time that call is actually dispatched to an ambulance, that's the first time, and on average, that's 2 minutes and 1 second. When the ambulance is dispatched, the time it takes for them then to go en route, that is represented on that second set of number, and that average time is 2 minutes and 19 seconds. Once the ambulance goes en route until they get on scene, our average response time is 7 minutes and 12 seconds. All 3 of these are added to get the total response time. Basically, when a person calls 911 until an ambulance gets on scene, that is considered the response time. Our average response time currently is 11 minutes and 32 seconds. The national response standard, as recommended by NFPA 1710, is 8 minutes. Increasing demand in 2014, these numbers are since we added Medic 5, and based upon the numbers we ran in 2014, we had an 18% increase in ambulance responses, a 17% increase in overall patient transports, and a 48% increase in out-of-county transports. We went ahead and ran the numbers on September 9th, compared 2015 to 2014, and we've already had a 6.7% increase in total responses, which is indicative of even more growing demand. And these numbers do not include the several hundred that other private providers have also run for us during this year. There's a graph you've probably seen before through budget justifications, and that's a representation since we established Medic 5 up until current, or at least the last complete calendar year. Information about these: the green are represent requests for service and actual ambulance responses. The blue is actual patient contacts, and the red is actual patient transports. And of course, as you can see from the exponential line here, that everything is going up, and it has been going that way since 2009. Here's an overview of the same time period of out-of-county transports. You can see in 2012 we pretty much peaked, carried over to 2013, staying about the same. We were pretty much at that point fully depleted and could do no more. In 2014, we had a significant drop, and that is a combination of reasons from other providers responding, as well as us having to deploy our current policies on only transporting out of county for clinical necessity. Currently, we try to take every patient out of county if they request, but we have very limited resources. And if it's not clinically necessary, our supervisor has to make a decision if it's clinically necessary or not to go out of county based upon our current available resources.
Are you telling me that if an ambulance is dispatched and I tell them to take me to Greenwood, they have the right to not take me to Greenwood? Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
And Director Burrell, is that a Medicare standard, or where does that?
Medicare defines closest appropriate hospital. And if your condition can be handled in Lawrence, that is the closest appropriate hospital if it's based upon current resource depletion.
And what about patient choice? Does it define that? What does it say about taking a patient to their hospital at their request or their choice?
Right. Again, we try to adhere to every request, but if it's not clinically necessary, we follow their guidelines of saying closest appropriate facility.
Gotcha.
But we take patients out of county more often, as you can see here represented by the graphs.
Thank you.
All right, Joey's going to load some maps up. This is kind of an overview of Lawrence County and our entire response area. As you can see, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm going to do a refresh on this right quick since it's been sitting there, so we won't have any issues. Hopefully it'll come back up.
We have some difficulty on this map. It's not showing the entire county, just in this presentation mode. So Joey's going to have to toggle up and down in order for you to see the northern and southern part of the counties, and we apologize for that. What Joey has on this map are our station locations. You can see central, we have Medic 1 and Medic 5. And again, that serves pretty much here in the Lawrence area. We have Medic 2, which is the Clinton truck. Its primary response area is around the Clinton area. Medic 3 serves in Gray Court, again, primarily for the northern part around the Gray Court area. And then we have Medic 4 in Cross Hill. It's kind of hidden down here to it. And that is assigned primarily to the Cross Hill area. Joey's going to pull up actual call demographics to show you where each of these units actually respond throughout the county to try to give you a better understanding of our total response area.
What we have is a combination of actual 911 calls that have been taken by the dispatchers and put into our CAD. We've exported that data and we've put it into Lawrence County GIS information. So you'll see some dots here in just a second. And that is everything for Medic 1. You want to pick that up, Chad?
Yes, sir. Again, as I mentioned before, Medic 1, this is their primary response area. But however, represented by these dots, this is not the only area that they serve. You can see the amount of additional calls that they cover throughout the entire county. So we're not just serving the Lawrence area with Medic 1 truck, we're actually serving the entire boundaries of Lawrence County. Oftentimes that leads into situations where if we're covering the north end, where we're leaving the center part without an ambulance, or the Clinton truck is then having to come up to Lawrence to cover that area.
And just to show that this is true 911 call data, You see the information pop up there that's in the CAD that's been collected. Tells you the year, actual call number that is the CAD number, EMS wall, the unit, and the location as well as the date. So every dot on here is a representative of data of that nature.
Joe, can you scan up down real quick just so they can see
Yeah.
the northern and southern?
Because of the display here, you can see that they're running all the way to the top of the county, and as well as to the southern part of the county.
And as we go through each one, I also want to point out, if you'll really look at the western to southwestern area, you see a lot of dots. And you'll see these on each truck. And that's just a point that we're going to make here shortly.
Is that a year's worth?
Yes.
All.
Yes, sir.
That's 2014 data.
Yes.
Okay, now we're going to go to Medic 2.
Again, Medic 2 is the Clinton truck, and it's represented right here. Its primary response area is the city of Clinton and surrounding areas. There again, you can see they have heavy involvement in Lawrence, as well as throughout the entire boundaries of Lawrence County.
And again, just to make sure that it's, there's your CAD information representative of that particular call.
Scroll up and down to it real quick, just down on the side.
Okay. Okay, we'll take a look at Medic 3, which is Gray Court Station.
Again, the city of Gray Court and the surrounding areas is its primary response area, but the entire boundaries of Lawrence County is its secondary response area. And you can see primarily they're staying more north, central to north, which is a good thing, but you can see a lot of dots floating throughout the entire boundaries of Lawrence County. We'll scroll up and down again, please.
And Director Burrell, or if you're going to explain this here in a moment, just stop me, but can you kind of explain the posting procedure of how, when you have a depleted, in one area is depleted, which ambulance moves priority based on call volume and so forth?
Yes, I can real briefly. Lawrence City and Clinton City is considered our hot spots in Lawrence County. That's primarily where the majority of the calls generate from. So if we start to have depletion of internal resources around those hot spots, we move the external resources in closer. We have posting points midway from their extreme outer borders of the station, and here somewhere is Medic 3's posting point. We have a posting point here for Medic 4 and a posting point here for Medic 4, based upon which area is depleted of resources. If all trucks are on calls except for one, that last truck is pulled in right here. That's the general overview, folks.
Gotcha, thank you.
Okay, we go to Medic 4.
Medic 4s, again, they serve down here. It's kind of hidden, but Medic 4 is the Cross Hill truck. Its primary responsible area, again, is the city and boundaries of Cross Hill. However, as you can see represented heavily here in the southern and southwestern border, a lot of call volume there, but you can also see a lot of involvement in Lawrence, Clinton, and even up to the northern part of the county.
How far is Cross Hill to the upper end? Is that 30 miles or something?
I would be guessing at best, because man, I don't know what exact mileage, 30 miles.
At least.
Okay, we'll take a look at Medic 5.
Again, Medic 5 is the power truck. It's on between 9:30 and 11:30, and it is co-housed with our Medic 1 station at headquarters. And you can see, again, they back up Medic 1 often, as well as Medic 2 in these response areas, and they have heavy involvement toward the western portion of Lawrence County. But again, throughout the entire boundaries of Lawrence County, they respond. And again, you can see a lot of involvement here, south, southwest, west, and even into the northwest mountains.
Now one data on the call, Skipper's Lodge Road.
That was respiratory distress. Joe, if you would go ahead and throw all stations on there real quick, just to give an overall response. Joe's going to throw response dots up from all of the ambulances, Medic 1 through Medic 5, just so you can see in its entirety the amount of times we responded to different geographical areas within Lawrence.
You may not be able to see some of the dots because of the color code, but I can assure you, they were there.
And again, I just want to emphasize that we have a lot of call requirements in the western portion of Orange County. Any questions on the map? All right, going forward. Our current fleet, most recent and recommended ambulance. When I say recommended, it is my recommendation as well as other area providers who provide true 911 only emergency response. A medium-sized duty chassis, we currently deploy the Dodge 4500 Type 1 ambulances. Here's a picture of our most recent truck. That's number is 8614. This is the most recent truck that we acquired. It is also outside. I hope you take the time when we get done to maybe take a moment and look at it. We're very proud of our logo that we put on the side. Our family served the war since 1976. We've also added a logo on the back of all of our fleet, proudly serving since 1976. All of our trucks, including ambulances and QRVs, currently deploy ADLs. ADL is an automatic vehicle locator device. It's a GPS-enabled device. It gives us real-time location of ambulances and QRVs. It gives us the ability to monitor individual driver performance. Tremendous risk management tool. It gives command officers alerts when there's issues of excess speed, excess idling, hard braking, and hard turns. It also alerts command when each unit arrives and leaves each hospital. Again, like I said before, this has been an exceptional risk management tool. Our current fleet, the current specifications, we utilize a medium duty chassis 4500 Dodge. We also have some F450s, which is the equivalent of the 4500, the medium duty style chassis. It is the minimum size chassis recommended for rural 911 emergency medical services. It provides affordable durability compared to heavier chassis models. Our specs and our current specifications provide us the adequate space that we need to truly run emergencies in Lawrence County. Generally speaking, 911 services require more equipment space for emergent needs. Rural settings require EMS services to stock more supplies and equipment. And the reason of that is we have limited resources. We have a large response area. We often go out of county. We don't have time to get back to headquarters to restock before we run another call. Oftentimes, our crews are leaving Greenville and responding to another call. So we have to stock excess supplies in order to handle the call load.
And Director Burrell, on the ADLs, how long have we had those on our vehicles?
I got those through a grant shortly after I became director. I cannot specify the exact year. I can find that out for you, but it was shortly after I became director I deployed the ADLs. And I acquired that through a grant. All right, I went ahead and provided some ambulance spec comparisons. This is comparing van-style ambulances to our current specifications. Concerning patient compartments, our specifications gives us an additional patient compartment space of 36 square feet. It gives us more room to handle and treat critical patients. Outside storage, it gives us additional space of 106 cubic feet, and that allows us to carry the necessary equipment needed to run repetitive emergency calls. Inside storage, compared between van-style ambulances and our box ambulances, we have 36.44 additional square feet available to us. And then, of course, ground clearance, van-style ambulances have 7 inches. Our units provide 10 inches of ground clearance, allowing us to access more remote areas. This is an overview of our current fleet condition. I'm not going to hit on it too much. The numbers kind of represent themselves. But here's a representation, or at least it gives our unit numbers. This is the chassis model as well as the current miles. I have starred the ones that were out of service as of 9/11/15. As you can see on this slide anyway, 5 of those units were out of service. We only had 2 that were in service. And I have a companion fleet. And of course, those are our most recent acquired vehicles, and those are the Dodges, with the newest one being 8614 that's sitting out here that currently has 2,797 miles.
How many miles you go a year in one vehicle? It's an average.
Average about 60,000. New units, ambulance approved for fiscal year 16. Where is it? It has been ordered. Expected completion to be delivered December of this year. The AFG awarded ambulance, I have sent requests for proposals out to 6 manufacturers. We're waiting on those proposals now. Those proposals are due by September 28th. I anticipate awarding the manufacturer and ordering the truck before October 1st of this year. So that would hopefully have us putting that truck delivered sometime February of 2016.
With the newer ambulance that's been approved there, explain to us why it took so long beforehand. And I've called a few distributors, a few vendors, Cooper's over in Clinton. Now they're telling me they have a 4,500 chassis there.
They have 4,500 chassis. They do not have ambulance spec 4,500 chassis. And that's the difference. Myself and Billy Wilson has been talking with Cooper significantly on this last truck that we ordered, the one that's going to be delivered in December, and we tried our best to acquire a chassis from Clinton Dodge so we could ship it to TaylorMade and have it turn around quicker, and they did not have one available, and still do not. They're currently looking at other providers trying to find one that's available for us. However, we have a completion date, delivery date by December 2015 of this year, so we stopped looking because TaylorMade Ambulance Service acquired the chassis.
Was there a back order or something?
Yes, the delay, the original delay on 8614, there was a back order. If you spoke with the manufacturer, they may tell you that they have one readily available, and that may be true. But that still doesn't counter the fact that there is a national back order on Dodge chassis. The current provider, TaylorMade, they do not stock a lot of chassis on lot, so they don't have the availability as some of the other manufacturers may have. However, you're also going to pay $40,000 more per unit in order to get that chassis turned around quicker.
Can you tell me why the 2011 Dodge ambulance 8601 is out of service?
Yes, sir. That actually has a DEF fluid problem. It has a DEF fluid problem. Billy, what's DEF stand for?
Diesel exhaust fluid.
Thank you.
It-
Billy can explain.
2010 and newer diesel engines have a DEF fluid. It's for emissions, pollution control, things like that. This thing, when the DEF fluid is mixed with, or it gets contaminated, it will give you so many miles to travel, and the truck will go into a limp mode. And this truck here was throwing the code up and would shut down in X number of miles, if not flushed and taken care of. Well, we've had an appointment with Dodge, and it's down there now being serviced. But the tank had to be flushed, the lines have to be flushed, but it was contaminated.
And Matt actually told me earlier that he had an idle report of that truck, so we know they're currently working on it and hopefully turn it around the next 2 days.
What does DEF stand for again?
Diesel exhaust fluid.
It's the whole emission issue that the federal government is trying to solve.
DEF.
And it literally locks it down, doesn't it? I mean, you
Yes,
can crank it
it
up
will.
after it.
Yes, sir.
Do the new ones have that feature as well?
2010 and newer.
Okay.
Did I answer your question, sir, on the back order issue?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. And I have a letter that I've seen. I do not have it readily available, but it is from Dodge themselves, denoting the back order issue.
Look on the right side, 2 miles, and some of the, I think the second slide you had, first line vehicles, and, you know, some of them are 120,000 miles, so, you know, they run these things 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, and that's what you get.
Yes. All right, cost of operations. Fiscal year 16, we have projected revenue for services of $1.9 million, and this is the projected amount of money that we will collect off billing. Available funds from general property taxes at 7.2 mils is 1.4 million, and that basically gives us our entire budget of $3.3 million. In my view, public service or profit, or for profit, we are truly a public service for Orange County, and we are committed to the health and wellness of Orange County. We are part of public safety and our public service funded by the citizens of our great county. The funding from the citizens basically total 42% of our total costs associated with operating. The other costs are offset by billing for service, and that is about 58% of the total costs just in billing. Advantages of public service over for-profit. Policies and procedures are built around the patient, not the bottom line. We're able to maintain control on minimizing financial burdens. Currently, Lawrence County EMS works with all patients who are under financial hardships. We do not currently use collection agencies or aggressive collection tactics. We're able to maintain control on charges for service, and we're also able to maintain control on hospital destinations for patient preference. And again, we kind of hit on that earlier. We do our best to try to adhere to patient preference, but sometimes it is based upon actual clinical need and available resources. Our current rates, currently Lawrence County EMS charges. We have a base rate, these are defined here, and then we have a mileage rate. ALS emergent or base rate is $550. 51.8% of our patient population falls under this ALS emergent category. ALS 2 emergent, 1.5% fall in this category, and that base rate is $700. BLS emergent is $500, and 46.7% of our patients fall into that category. Every patient is charged an additional mileage fee of $12 per loaded mile to whatever destination that they go to. We also have no transport charges. These are only incurred if we are on scene with the patient greater than 30 minutes. If we're there less than 30 minutes, there's no cost for us to respond to their residence and do a blood pressure, check them out, and then leave. There's no cost. But if we're there longer than 30 minutes, we then charge them a no transport charge. If it's ALS procedures given, it's $200. An example of this would be we respond to a resident, somebody's diabetic, their sugar is dropped, we give them medicine and woken them back up, and they decide not to go to the hospital, they'll get a charge to try to help cover cost of what we did out on medications. The BLS no transport charge is $100. This is a breakdown of our payer mix. 49% of our patient population is under Medicare, 13% is under Medicaid, 11% is under private insurance, and 27% is actually no insurance or no pay. It's typically what we end up saying to those. You see 0% as facility, it's actually 0.3%. Those are things like hospice transports or committed transports the hospital may ask us to do that they'll take care of the charges. Medicare and Medicaid total is 62.1%. Of course, this is the government-funded insurance program. They actually provide a lower reimbursement rate than we actually charge. The Lawrence County EMS rate for ALS is $550. Medicare will only pay $407, and Medicaid will only pay $158. If we charge them for BLS, again, Lawrence County EMS charges $500. The Medicare allowable is $342, and Medicaid will only pay $126, which will not cover the cost for that transport. The mileage charge, again, we charge $12 a mile. The Medicare allowable, if it's greater than 17 miles of loaded transported miles, it's $7.34. If it's between 1 and 17 miles, it's $11.02. Medicaid will only pay $2.42 per loaded mile. Other demographics, Medicare, which is 48.9% of our patient population, we have an average collection rate of 84+%. Medicaid, 13.2% of our patient population, average collection rate is 43+%. Insurance, which is private insurance such as Blue Cross and Blue Shield, that's 10.7% of our patient population, average collection rate is 65+%. And a patient with no insurance, which is 26.9% of our patient population, look at our collection rate, 2.9%. Facility, of course, again, is hospital paid trips, hospice, and they account for about 0.3% of our total patient demographics. Collections analysis for fiscal year 14. Overall, we had a 49.5% collection rate. There was $4.9 million in total gross charges, $3.6 million in total net charges. The difference between the gross charges and the net charges is basically we take off the contractual allowables to those government-provided insurance, Medicare, Medicaid, and that leaves us our net charges. We had $1.7 million in write-offs in fiscal year 14, and that's from bad debt, bad addresses, just inability to pay, private pay, no insurance, and so forth.
On the Medicare and Medicaid, you have to agree to those rates, you don't get anything, do you? I mean,
that's all they'll pay.
You have to sign agreements.
To be a Medicare, Medicaid provider, yes, but that's all they're going to pay anyway. But you have to sign and agree to those things before you can. You have to become a provider for Medicare, Medicaid.
So you're writing off some debt before you get started.
Right.
Greg Burrell, does the county have the ability to garnish taxes in order to collect?
We currently have debt set off, and we do send some of the write-offs to debt set off. When we first done that, and I don't have that information in front of me, Lisa may have some of that information if we need it. When we first went to debt set off, we collected a fairly large percentage, but it's kind of fallen off over the years. I don't know what last year's amounts were in debt
We
set off.
average about $50,000 a year.
About $50,000 a year on debt set off. And that's the only additional That's the only additional means that we do for additional,
And what debt set off is, that's tax returns, that's not wages.
that's correct, that's right, that's
If you submit something for, and so we don't garnish wages at all.
no, sir, no, we do not. There's no wage garnishments, it's just through debt set off taxes. Does that come agree?
Thank you. I'd like to recognize Councilman Daniel and ask him to join us. I did not see you out there. Mr. Daniel. I apologize.
I apologize again, Lee.
Come over here and sit, Mr. McDaniel. There you go. All right, additional revenue. There are ways that we make and increase our revenue, and I'd like to go over some of those now. We should consider the following. Highly recommend. This information is provided by our third-party billing company, EMSMC, and they kind of calculated this stuff for me and helped me figure some of this stuff up. But I would recommend that we raise our mileage rate. We currently charge $12 a mile. I would recommend that we increase our rate by $1 a mile, making it $13 per mile. That would potentially raise and increase our revenue to about $7,500. Another recommendation is to provide a non-residence rate increase. This rate increase would serve our patients who do not currently reside in Lawrence County, that do not currently pay taxes in Lawrence County. It would be a higher rate to them in order for us to provide services. If we do this, we could potentially have additional revenue in the amount of about $8,700. Something else to consider. This is considered collections, and this is a process through a collection agency. There's several ways that you can do this, either through soft or aggressive collections. But if we decide that we want to go this route, and of course this would serve more of our percentage of patients who have no insurance and who do not provide any payment for their bill, we could potentially increase our revenue by $96,000. Another thing that I would recommend as well to consider is a $19 fee on all property. The most recent assessment, there would be 29,699 parcels of property. If we applied this fee to, could generate additional revenue in an amount of $564,000. Current needs and priorities. These are in order. You've seen all of these before in prior budget sessions. Additional resources, recruitment and retention, and fleet replacement program. Current need number one, we need to increase our available response and transport resources. We need to add an additional 24-hour ambulance over to the western portion of Lawrence County. If we do that, we're then able to move the current QRV that's located in the western portion and move it south to the southwest portion of Lawrence. We can use current structures as well as cohabitate with the fire department, so we're not incurring any more capital costs for building stations, etc. Additional ambulance will help us in decreasing response times. It increases EMS presence to the entire western portion of Lawrence County. It decreases the workload on each ambulance crew, basically by sharing the volume between 6 ambulances versus 5 ambulances. It allows for more rest and downtime of each crew, decreases wear and tear on each ambulance by sharing the volume, and it significantly will benefit risk management with less injury potential due to less fatigue because we're sharing the volume of each unit amongst the crews. Initial costs. By providing a new ambulance and equipment, it's going to cost about $190,000. By putting on the additional personnel, you'll have additional recurring costs, salary-wise, of $213,000, operations of $25,000, and operations covers maintenance and fuel, and things like that. Current need number two, we need to increase our full-time salaries that require paramedic certification. We need to become more in line and competitive with our major competitors for labor. No doubt, we have a 43% turnover rate. We need to be more competitive in our wages in order to retain these employees. Another thing that we can do is revise vacation accruals for field EMS employees. Again, 43% turnover, main reasons given, more pay, less hours, and better benefits.
Isn't that not a problem everywhere though?
As far as recruitment and retention,
No, current needs. Well, everybody having the same problems, bottom line money, right?
Everybody seems to be having significant fleet problems. All their trucks are broken down. Some are able to maintain more staff because they're typically paying more and they're spreading the call volume out amongst their crews. So again,
Well,
that's
our
where
salary is so much lower than like Greenwood County and Greenville County.
Yes, sir, and I've got an overview of that right here. Currently, we pay paramedics $37,000 a year. Our main competitors for our paramedics, the ones that our guys leave and go to, Greenville County starts their paramedics off at $40,000. If they have an associate's degree, they're immediately started off at $42,000. Greenwood County recently went through a revision and they had a major salary adjustment. They start their paramedics off at $39,200. Oconee Memorial at $39,000, and Pelzer Rescue in Anderson starts their medics off at $42,000 a year. Also went ahead and done a comparison of counties similar in population density. Kershaw County starts their medics off at $41,000. Lancaster actually just increased their salaries to $51,000 a year to start the paramedic salary. Cherokee County starts at $41,000, and then again Greenwood, because it is very similar in population density, they start their medics off at $39,000. We actually recently lost 2 medics to Greenwood when they had that salary bump.
That $37,508, is that just for the 2,080 hours?
And
Or does that include the additional 848 overtime?
That annual estimated salary includes 28 regular and 848 overtime. So I would recommend a 6.5% increase in all positions that require paramedic certification. The starting pay for paramedics from $37,508 to $39,947. This would cost us recurring costs and regular salaries $50,000, and overtime salaries it would require an additional $24,000. Also, I'd like to recommend additional vacation hours for our paramedics. Basically, more time earned for more time worked. Paramedics on a 24/48 schedule work 848 hours more per year than a 40-hour employee. And I would like to have consideration in adjusting accrual time based on our current structure, but utilize a per hour accrual. Here's kind of an example. There's many ways that you could do this, but for a quick example, a 40-hour employee currently occurs 1.6 hours per pay period if they've been here between 0 and 1 years, and that is figured at a 40-hour employee, basically 0.02 hours earned per scheduled hours, based again on a 40-hour work week. Paramedics work 29,028 hours a year. So if you attribute the same formula to the same amount of hours worked per year, I would recommend that we try to allow our medics to accrue 2.3 hours per pay period. Again, there's different formulas to do different things, but this is just a recommendation that I would like to have considered for the benefit needs of our paramedics and EMTs. Current need number 3 is strategic planning to provide ambulances. We have to strategically plan in order to maintain a safe and reliable EMS fleet. South Carolina Association of Counties recommends to remove all ambulances completely out of service at 150,000 miles. Would you like to go back to that other screen a minute ago where we had all of our miles listed?
How many counties do that?
I'm not sure of what replacement plans other counties have. I don't know. I just know that this is the association's recommendations. We average 60,000 miles per year, but I think down here back to reality, Lawrence County EMS believes that we should place all ambulances at least in spare fleet rotation at 150,000 miles, and then have some kind of plan in place to either remount or replace all ambulances once they reach 200,000 miles. If we were to go forward with this vehicle replacement strategy, we need to plan on replacing 1 ambulance in fiscal year 17, as well as go ahead and provide the funds to remount 1 ambulance. And then going into fiscal year 18 preparation, we need to plan to replace or remount 1 ambulance going forward every year.
What's the difference in cost for remount and new?
The new ambulance is right at $135,000. To remount 1 costs about $100,000. And remount is basically taking the box and putting it on a new chassis that they completely rewire, repaint. If it's a new box, it's just reusing the same metal material from the box. How are we going to fund these needs? Well, one thing we can do is approve recommendations. We did the mileage rate increase, we did the non-resident rate increase. Consider soft collections. I would not be a proponent of aggressive collections. However, it's council's choice. But definitely consider soft collection tactics. And then again, consider the EMS fee on all real property. In order to cover our entire needs, this is a breakdown. Providing an additional ambulance salaries be $213,000. Benefits would be an additional $60,000. Ambulance and equipment, $190,000. Annual operation would be $25,000. Our salary increase, in order to give our paramedics a raise, we have a regular salary increase of $50,000, overtime salary of $24,000. This is total recurring of $562,000 in order to supply our entire needs that we're demonstrating here tonight. If we were to put a $19 fee on all property, that would bring in additional revenue of $564,000, which would provide for additional resources, recruitment and retention needs, vehicle replacement, as well as any additional equipment replacement needs every year going forward. Other plans currently in motion, emergency medical dispatch. Joey's going to cover some of that here in a minute. I would suggest that we do our best to try to implement that as soon as possible. We're currently reviewing and are going to attempt to try to utilize part-time staff in order to keep the Young's Community QRB in service at all times, 24 hours. Utilize part-time employees for the second half of Medic 5. And we are also currently reviewing and looking at restructuring our posting plans that Mr. Jones had asked about earlier, just to try to ensure that we're doing the best in efficiency. And with that, questions?
This time I'd recognize a member of the committee, Mr. Jones. You have any questions for Mr. Burrell?
With the last, to review the posting, do you guys, Director Burrell, do you all do that yourself, or do you call in have we had any consultants come in and look at our system and look at efficiency?
We've never had an outside firm, at least in my tenure as director, come in and do an analysis, no. These are posting plans that has been deployed and they seem to work. We're monitoring response times. And we're also, again, we've got a subset of times that we've been accumulating over the past 3 months that we're looking at revamping the process that we can basically compare that 3 months of times with a new set of times under a new proposed posting plan to see if we're actually making a difference, if it's increasing efficiency or not. But to answer your question, no, so we've never had an outside source come in and do an evaluation.
Mr. Wood or Mr. McDaniel, you have any questions, Mr. Burrell?
There's a lot of money spent in fire service on first responders.
Yes, sir.
What's your opinion of that?
First responders are absolutely needed. Yes, sir. As you saw earlier, we have an average response time of 11 minutes, and that's just average. If we're having to send a truck from the Clinton station all the way to the northern part of Lawrence County, you're looking at a 20+ minute response time. And it's very critical to have first responders available to at least provide that initial assessment and potential life-saving measures before we can get there.
Has other counties got first responders
Yes,
as well as Lawrence County?
Yes, sir. All counties pretty much have.
I know they have, but are they as good as Lawrence County?
Nobody's as good as Lawrence County, sir.
That's what I'm asking.
Mr.
That's
McDaniel?
all I got.
Thank you, Mr. Wood. Mr. McDaniel, you have any questions?
Do the budget totals in here for the year reflect the 10 people who you're not fully staffed with, the 7 part-time and the shift lieutenant, I think it is? The
Yes,
budget totals you have in here, did you calculate their salaries into the total budget for the year?
As far as the requested increase for recruitment or the current
The current staff that you're showing?
Yes, the current amount that's budgeted is budgeted upon fully staffed, fully staffed, yes, sir.
One other thing, you was talking about additional revenue back over here on page 14. If Medicare and Medicaid don't even pay what we charge them now, what good would it do to increase that?
As far as
You was talking about increasing mileage and
yes, sir. Medicare, Medicaid will not pay anymore, you're right. But the other insurance, private insurance providers, you would see a small increase. And that increase that I specified in there, I believe it was about $8,700. I'd have to go back to the slide. It was either $7,000 or $8,000 potential revenue increase. That is not figuring in any money's coming from Medicare or Medicaid. That's only based upon the collection rate of private insurance and so forth.
okay, that's all.
Thank you, Thank you, Mr. Burrell. At this time, I'd like to recognize Mr. Joey Edwards, 911 office, and EMD.
Chairman, let me find out.
You got another one of these checks?
Where's yours?
I would point out, while Mr. Avery getting ready, we we've got 4 transport units now, Clinton, Lawrence, Crawford, and Breakaway. I came here in 1988, and I think we had just finished Crawford Station at that time. And we've added QRVs since then. There's not been any transport stations added in 25, 26 years.
Mr. Chairman, I asked Mr. Seegers and Mr. Burrell to sort of piggyback on this presentation because there has been some conversation about emergency medical dispatch. It was part of my annual budget request 2015, 2014, 2015, and just want to touch on the need of that particular service now. Emergency medical dispatch is a system that enhances services provided by 911 dispatchers or call takers. A 911 dispatcher is the backbone of public safety, hands down. Without those men and women, professionals answering that phone, fire, police, EMS, nobody gets rolling to the scene. And those folks are true professionals. But the 911 emergency medical dispatcher is the principal link, as I said, between the citizens and emergency medical assistant. What we're doing is taking that information from the citizen and trying to relay the true information to EMS as they're responding, and trying to give them as much information possible. EMD plays a fundamental role in the ability of the emergency medical service because the more information that we can provide to them with the symptoms or the diagnosis for that particular patient to the men and women of emergency medical service, it just adds a better care service once they get there. EMD is a prompt and accurate process and calls for emergency medical assistance. EMD is a question and answer, and I have systematic interrogation. Some people may not like to use that word interrogation, but that's what we do as 911 dispatchers. We have to find out exactly what is taking place. And it provides direct dispatch life support. Mr. Burrell talked about basic life support, advanced life support. Here, the dispatcher provides support which gives phone instructions to aid the patient until help arrives. And it provides other information to the caller as well. And also, because of the checklist, it activates appropriate protocols. Now, what we have, and I'm going to touch on this in just a second, I think the next slide's up here, may be guided by computer software. I understand some of the members have gone and reviewed 911 operation and with EMD in operation and saw the value of it on particular calls. In my budget 2014, 2015, I requested the monies to buy the software to go into the computer system and train all the individuals. Or flip cards. Here's a copy of the flip cards. I'll have this here if council would like to look at it. That's part of the systematic interrogation that we can use, but the software just gives it a little more fluid and swiftly move through it. The on-phone instructions provided by the dispatcher using EMD procedures may help the caller or other bystanders to provide CPR. Unfortunately, we are not trained to do the CPR to the citizens because we do not do pre-arrival instructions. Emergency medical dispatch training will give us that certification and the ability to complete that task. Okay. Assist dispatch quickly identifying the appropriate determinant code. As you see the determinant codes there, it just makes it easier. It takes all the EMS signals, which are huge numbers, and sort of compresses them down into that part. So it certainly makes it simpler for the dispatcher. Now, also in my budget that I requested in 2014, 2015 to implement EMD in Orange County was the addition of 4 full-time persons. In the slides that we prepared for Mr. Burrell, we saw that the dispatch call was 2 minutes and 1 second. Unfortunately, over the years, that time has steadily climbed because our call volume has climbed, and we have not added any additional dispatchers to offset the call volume. In order to implement EMD, we must have 4 full-time persons to help offset that call volume. That's going to be a total cost of $132,300 with benefits. We cannot implement emergency medical dispatch in Lawrence County 911 Dispatch Center without those 4 people. Also, there's a need to increase salaries to lower the turnover. Once we get these people trained, they're professionals, we want to keep them. Now, my turnover rate is low, but people do leave to go to other counties because of higher starting salaries, various reasons. Also in there, we had a request for the software and the training of EMD at a cost of $76,400. 80% of that is reimbursable from the state. So the total county investment for Lawrence County to implement emergency medical dispatch for the citizens of this county is $15,600.
Was that not approved in the budget cycle? I don't know.
No, sir, it was not.
Thank you.
Because it had a tie-in to the 4 individuals. We had to have 4 people in order to make it work. Now, why implement EMD? I hate to put a slide like this together, but we as citizens demand the most and the best from our emergency services out there. So imagine someone you know who's not breathing, and you call 911. And that 911 dispatcher is not certified to provide life-saving instructions per the EMD protocols that is floating around up here. It's pretty tough. It's realistic. Hopefully our friend survives. This could affect us with the loss of a friend or a family member. We need emergency medical dispatch protocols for Lawrence County citizens.
So, let me ask a question, Mr. Avery.
Yes, sir.
Are you telling me that our 911 dispatchers are not certified on any EMD protocol?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay.
Because the amount that was requested in the budget was not approved, I do not have enough of that funding in my normal training budget to absorb that. But the council knows me. I'm working very closely with Mr. Burrell. We're trying to do some different things, trying to find some funding and to try to offset that cost. But it's paramount that we have the 4 new employees to implement that. If we exhausted and came up to no cost, no additional revenues to complete the training process, I still couldn't implement it without 4 people. And I hate to drive that home, but I do. In summary, dispatcher saves seconds, saves lives. Emergency medical dispatch protocols are presently not available in the toolbox of the dispatchers. Dispatchers are still trying to save seconds and save lives. Typically, the dispatch takes all these calls of service that you saw for EMS, and we may have a big fire taking place. We may have a break-in or a robbery or something for law enforcement. All that's taking place, and that emergency medical dispatch is just another tool in that box to provide better service, medical service for our citizens of Lawrence County. Questions?
This time I recognize Mr. Jones.
I think you answered all my questions, Mr. Avery, thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Wood.
You saying an additional 4 employees to do this?
Yes, sir. At a cost of $132,300.
Mr. McDaniel.
That was the only question I had about the 4 employees. Even if you train a 911 dispatcher on EMD, they still won't be able to give the aid.
Because of the call volume that we presently have, something would have to go lacking in order to handle that call. Because once that operator seizes that medical call, they're not allowed to pull off until they exhaust all the options that's based in those calls. Those cards, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Avery.
Yes, sir.
This time I recognize Councilman Stuart Jones for a presentation to the committee.
This is Chairman Pitts, and I'm going to grab the microphone here. help out a little bit. So, okay, so what I would like to look at here are some options. You know, a lot of what Director Burrell and Mr. Avery just went over are in our slideshow here that I've set up. I want to look at the challenges, and you know, you just heard many of these details. You've heard them already. Large county, limited resources. That's our main. That's the biggest obstacle that we have. 721 square miles. We're the 17th largest county in South Carolina. Our population, we have a low density population, totaling about 92 people per square mile based on the U.S. Census Bureau statistics. So in essence, we have per capita about one ambulance for every 14,197 people. That's the 24-hour, and the fifth unit, 16 hours. So yeah, I'm going to go right back for a second. So in essence, large county limited resources. This means a higher tax liability per capita. It's important to understand because we've got to find ways to do more with less in Lawrence County. So, and issues and symptoms. When we did the budget, around one of those the budget meetings there, the sessions there, we were year to date at 47% turnover. Staffing issues, and as Director Burrell cited, that the you know, what we're paying people. I've got some statistics here. Basically, some of the things that Birmingham pays horrendous. Private services can pay at least $3 to $4 more per hour than if you come to work at Lawrence County EMS. That's something that's definitely a concern. Secondly, $480,000 in overtime in the budget. I mean, that jumps out at me because during the budget sessions, EMS has the highest overtime rate of any departments. Sheriff's Department would be second. I believe it's about $290,000. So a current posting protocol, basically, and we looked at EMTs, paramedics are basically staying awake on the third day, 24-hour shifts on the third day, and we're moving around vehicles, moving resources from as far out as Cross Hill, which is Medic 4, Gray Court, Medic 3, into other areas of the county. This adds to the attrition rate. So my question there, you know, what I'm looking at is, could we do a better job at keeping an ambulance, keeping medics posted in certain areas, rather than moving those ambulances around the county and putting wear and tear on those vehicles and so forth. Prioritization 911, Mr. Avery, he just touched on that with the EMD situation. If we can do a more efficient job and get the emergency medical dispatcher, if we can implement those things, then we can actually do a better job prioritizing in 911, and that will help to know, you know, to better prioritize these calls and better know what resources we're sending out where and so forth. Long ways with our ambulance distributor, and we discussed this a little while ago about the year wait on that last ambulance that we had, and Director Burrell answered my question on that. So in general, you know, lack of resources to expand this service. That's what we've been discussing here, and that's what I've got some ideas and some things going forward. Real quick, just want to take a snapshot look at the fiscal year 2016 EMS budget. $3.4 million. 1.2 is a tax. I believe that's a 7 mil tax. 2.2 million is estimated to be collected for those transporters. Okay, so let's look at one idea is to basically privatize and to implement some privatization. We've got there's public-private partnerships, private partnerships, all different kinds of blends that we could possibly benefit from. Number one, it'll help us expand our service in more areas of the county, western Lawrence, less wear and tear on vehicles, greater efficiency, helping to implement the E&D systems that Mr. Avery was talking about. It'll free up county resources, basically helping the county to eliminate risk and loss with managing the EMS system. Stabilized staffing, as I had cited earlier, the private local services are able to pay about $3 to $4 more on average in our county per hour. So it would attract and keep paramedics, help lower the loss that when we're losing people. Faster modernization of equipment, allowing for better life-saving technology in a speedy manner, more bargaining power, leverage, getting trucks faster, and all this, it would allow for resources, of course, to go to 911, more resources to go to dispatch. Privatization reduces response times. Based on a number of studies, including the Reason Policy Institute, it's been cited that privatization in EMS can help reduce response times by 30 seconds. So as Mr. Avery was saying, every second matters. So currently, we are benefiting from some privatization that I'm really happy the county has done with our provider network agreement. Couple of things. We've actually, we're utilizing private services to supplement the county currently, and that has really helped. It's no extra cost to the county, and those services really help the county, help the citizens of the county. We also are utilizing some privatization with our collections, which, to my understanding, our collections have gone up a good, we've actually been able to collect a good bit more since we privatized those collections, outsourced them. So this is something kind of interesting. This is based on a WYFF Channel 4 study done back in May. And they looked at what counties were paying for EMS for an ambulance ride on average. Spartanburg County, that's really hard to see, I apologize, but it's $692 on average for an ambulance ride in Spartanburg County, which is a public system. Greenville County, $598. Anderson County has done it, as far as the upstate goes, has really kind of led the way privatizing their EMS system. So they've been able to get the cost of an ambulance ride down to $463 on average. But what I'm showing here mainly is just that privatization can help lower the cost of health care, both Medicare and Medicaid, as we were looking at. And I mean, I'm worried because people put money into those things, and those things are supposed to be, based on their analysis, they're going to be depleted by 2025, 10 to 15 years. Medicare and Medicaid is going to be broke unless something changes. And so the problem there, and it bothers me that a lot of people are relying on those things, and if the rug's pulled out from under them and the system just broke, well, what are they going to do? But Lawrence County, and it's tough to see, but it's $641 was the average cost of an ambulance ride in Lawrence County. How much is our local providers that are supplementing, that are part of our provider network agreement? One of those local providers, in the past 30 days, their average has been $343 on average for the emergency responses to the counties. So that shows you the cost savings there. And then here's some, moving forward, some plans and ideas I've been studying this for over a year now. I don't claim to be an expert in EMS by any means, but what I'm finding, I've been studying what other counties have been doing. One thing counties do at some point in this process is they'll set guidelines and have a bidding process with expectations and guidelines. The county is still in control of the EMS system. You can set termination guidelines. You can set caps on the cost on how much a private provider can charge to perform, to have a transport. So a possible private-public partnership, privatization, there's even there's a lot of fire-based EMS, but I want us to consider all these options, is what I'm saying. As we were talking about with Director Burrell a little bit ago, and the county hasn't had one of these done, but there are efficiency experts in EMS that go around the world and will get into your system, they'll watch everything we're doing and figure out the most efficient ways, ideas for implementing a new system and getting more resources to those areas that need them. So that's another. Ultimately, this will lead to a request for proposals, and that's what I would like. This is my recommendation moving forward, but I'd like for the committee to consider all of this and ultimately make a request for proposals moving forward. And that is all I've got. I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Before you sit down, Mr. Jones, I'd like to recognize Mr. Wood and Mr. McDaniel if they have any questions.
Just one question, with the efficiency testing, have you researched any companies that do that and what their rates are, and how long it will take?
Yes, sir, Mr. McDaniel. One in particular, Washco and Associates, they've been pretty helpful. I have had a number of discussions with them. Just as an idea, it would cost around $36,000 to get them to come into our county and to perform a basic efficiency test and to basically give us a report on everything they're seeing in our county and what they would recommend. The cost goes up from there. Of course, there's some of these companies that will, for a lot more money, for closer to $100,000, will come into your county and do those same efficiency tests, but also get involved in the implementation of, they'll promote ideas for what we can do, and they'll get involved and help with managing implementation of those things.
Any further questions?
That's it.
You was talking about comparing hourly wages for the private sector compared to the county sector. In other words, does the private sector pay all the benefits and vacation pay and retirement and all that stuff, just like the county does?
That varies.
Varies a lot, don't it?
Yes, sir. Well,
That's a big part of the county's part.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
That's a lot of money to provide benefits for the people that work for the EMS service in Lawrence County.
It is. Yeah.
Any further
That's all I
questions?
got.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. At this time, we'll turn to committee discussion, and as chairman, I'm going to take the privilege of inviting Mr. McDaniel and Mr. Wood to participate in the discussion. And at this time, I would like to recognize Mr. Jones for any further comments that he may have.
I appreciate it, Chairman Pitts. Moving forward, I'd like to just have a collaborated effort of figuring out which direction we need to go, and that's what I would like to see. But I appreciate you've answered a lot of questions tonight. I appreciate it.
Mr. Wood.
That's all I got.
Mr. McDaniel.
I'd just like to thank the Lawrence County EMS for the wonderful job they have been doing, and hopefully we can just help improve in the future.
Okay. And last but certainly not least, I will add my comments.
I got one other thing.
Yes, sir, Mr. Wood.
Just remind the committee, not this past year, but last year, we brought up about a $15 fee to put on the fifth ambulance to bring in some extra money, and it was voted down by the county council.
Yes, sir, I do recall that.
Because a lot of people didn't want to do it, didn't want us to do it.
My comments are as follows. Regarding EMS, we have what I consider a high attrition rate at 43%. I don't know how that compares to other counties. I think it's pretty evident that our pay is low in EMS as well as it is across the county in all departments. And I, for one, cannot support an additional ambulance of over $500,000 a year. Is the need there? Yes, I believe the need is there. I'm just telling you I'm just stating my opinion to the committee. As far as the dispatch, I believe there is a need for 4 dispatch workers. I do not know how to fund it, given our physical condition that we are in our county. Those are my comments. At this time, I will entertain any motion to come out of the committee. My recommendation is that we need further time to study, that this was an information gathering session only. But Mr. Jones, as 2 members of the committee, would you like to say anything else?
I don't believe so, Chairman Pitts, and I also, with I can see the direction. There's so many different tested. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. You know, there's so many counties that have already tested where we're going. You know, and things we can try here. So, you know, it's that I would just urge us to take in all this information that we've gotten here tonight and to come back with a plan of action to go forward.
And I'm certainly not opposed, as you and I have talked in the past, of entertaining a privatization or public-private partnership, whatever we can do to provide the best services to the citizens of the county, given our financial conditions. I want to personally thank Joey Avery, Chad Burrell, Ernie Seegers, and other members of the staff for being present. Certainly thank you, for those of you who are members of the audience. And I feel sure that there will be another committee meeting. Hopefully, Mr. Tollison will be able to be called to speak, Mr. Seegers, and another committee meeting will take place. And at this time, this meeting is adjourned.